clear to play. MiniWarGaming's Beat the Cooler Bat Rap!
Hey there, MiniWarGamers. Owen here from MiniWarGaming with Kenneth and Aiden. Kenneth, I can do it. I said that name correctly. We are playing 2,000 points of Warhammer 40k. I have brought 2,000 points of Tyranids against 1,000 points of Necron and 1,000 points of Space Wolves. We haven't rolled off for what scenario we're playing yet, but we will roll those off, and I'll show you the deployment and armies in just a moment. Okay, so here is my 2,000 points. I have a Hive Tyrant with Force Shield and Mechanicarium Malediction, along with 2 sets of Twin-Linked Devourers with Brain Leech Worms, as well as Preferred Enemy, which now that I realize is very redundant. And yeah, he's my Warlord. Oh, and he counts as a scoring unit thanks to my points. I have 9 Warriors in my Ascetic Spore, and they are all armed with Furious. And they all have Scything Talons, Rending Claws, and Adrenal Glands. They are identical. And then in the back we have 3 Carnifexes with Devourers with Brain Leech Worms and Bioplasma, and then a Trigon Prime with Toxin Sacs, Regeneration, and Adrenal Glands. So, what have you got?
I have an Overlord with a War Scythe, Resurrection Orb, and Phase Shifter. 3 squads of 10 Warriors, 2 of them with Night Science. 1 Cryptek, he's a Harbinger of Storm with a Lightning Field, and a Monolith.
Yeah. And what'd you bring?
I brought 8 Grey Hunters, and then I brought 7 Grey Hunters. With this squad, it's got a plasma gun. I have 2 squads of 3 Thunderwolf Cavalries, and then they all have Storm Shields, and 1 in each squad has a Thunderhammer. And then I have Canis Wolfthorn with Wolf Claw, and that's it.
Alright then. So, here's the board we are playing on. It is Big Guns Never Tire. So I have an advantage and a disadvantage in the sense that I have more heavy support than they do, so I can hold more objectives, but they can get extra points for killing my heavy support. We rolled off and got 5 objectives. 1, 2, 3, 4 is behind that building, and 5 is on the other side of the wall. And I have first turn. They're going to try and steal initiative. My Hive Tyrant, of course, if you'll recall, can also hold objectives. Go ahead. Steal initiative. Fail. And we start off with Tyranids turn 1. First thing, Hive Tyrant gives himself a 5-up invuln, because why not? Might as well give himself something. Then flies over towards the Space Wolves on the far end. The Carnifexes find out what kind of forest it is. Basically, they get a 2-up cover save against wounds caused by grenades, which means very little to them, so they just move out, but I gotta reroll the 5, seeing as it wasn't flat on the table. So they move up, and at this point I realize my measuring tape pulls away, so we stop using that one. The Turfagon moves up. Hive Tyrant takes pot shots at the Space Marines here, hitting on 4s, twin-linked, and wounding on 2s. There we go, so 6 3+ saves, and he fails 4 of them. So 4 Space Wolves go down, blam, which is a good start for those Tyranids. The Carnifexes, now I'm not sure why I did this, but I decided that I'm going to run. And then the Turfagon, he has Fleet, so he runs as well, or Trigon runs another 5 inches up and puts himself just up into that little cubby hole there. The Space Wolves do a leadership check, which they obviously pass. So here we go into the Necron Space Wolf turn 1, and they move up, trying to get a little bit closer to the Hive Tyrant there. Basically, they're going to try and shoot him out of the air. I believe that was what their plan was. The Thunderwolf Cavalry, they come riding up in the middle. And I didn't realize how powerful these were. Originally I asked and thought they were strength 4, but then it turned out once we were in close combat that they were actually strength and toughness 5. So, I was not exactly excited to run into that close combat, but there's not Thunderwolves and they don't care what you want. So the other Cav, they run over and get in a position there. The Monolith moves up. Now the Space Wolves kind of gather up and get in formation. The big gun on the Monolith and the smaller gun is going to shoot at my Carnifexes, and the other gun is going to shoot at my Trigon. So he still hits 1 with the explosion from the Monolith, which does 1 hit, and no. Big gun does a wound, and the little ones did not, so they take 1 wound and are down to 3. Here we go, 3 shots against my Turfagon, and nope. He's not a Turfagon, he's a Trigon. I don't know why I keep making that mistake, but he's okay. Now they're firing their shots, all the warriors that are sitting on the hilltop there, firing away, hitting on 3s, wounding on 6s. They do get 1, and I fail my save, so I am down to 5. I always hate rolling 1 dice. Whenever you roll 1 dice, I find you fail a lot. Or at least personally, that's what I've noticed. Anyway, here we've got Space Wolves taking pot shots at the Flyrant, but he does do a hit with the plasma and wounds it with the plasma, but I have a 5-up invuln, which I promptly fail. And do I fall? I do not. So the Hive Tyrant is now down to 3 wounds. Space Wolves fire at it, and they get a hit. So the Hive Tyrant's going to have to do another grounding test, but he doesn't get wounded, but he doesn't also fall. So here we go, he's going to try and charge with the Thunderwolves into the Carnifexes. Carnifexes get to Overwatch, and they're hitting on 6s, and they each have 2 Twin-Linked Devourers that are Twin-Linked, and so it's just tons and tons and tons of shots that are re-rolling to hit. And I end up getting this many hits, and he's got to make a whole bunch of 3-up saves, and he only fails 1. So, 1 wound to 1 Thunderwolf Cav, the rest of them fine because he made like 10 3-up saves. It was crazy. But certainly good luck for him as they make their charge and get into close combat with the Carnifex. Just move them backwards so that they can fit in there a little bit better, seeing as the Carnifexes are giant on their bases. And unfortunately for him, the hammer guy was in the front, so if he had messed up, then his Thunderhammer would have been killed. And yeah, but he didn't, and I didn't kill him, so that happened. So here we go, quick dangerous terrains, because he ended up in the woods, and he's cavalry, so he doesn't roll extra dice, he just takes dangerous. And the other guy, he's fine as well. So here we go, going into the first initiative, step 4, so he gets a 3-inch adjust by the guys who have initiative 4, which it turns out Wolfbane, we didn't realize that he was actually initiative 5 until later on, when we had him double check, but Wolfbane is actually initiative 5, so he should have been going first. So we do roll the dice first though. And wounds on 5s, but he's got lightning claws, so he re-rolls to wound, and he gets 3 wounds, and I lose one of my Carnifexes right away. There go the other 2 guys hitting on 4s, or hitting on 3s rather. Wounding on 5s, and he does not wound them. I get to move my 3 inches and pile in with the Carnifexes, and his Thunderhammer will get to pile in as well. So we let him roll the Thunderhammer first, hitting on 3s, and of course the Thunderhammer has 4 attacks base, plus 1 for the charge. And now hitting or wounding on 2s, 3 wounds. That Carnifex is down to 1 wound. Carnifexes get to attack back, and wounding on 2s, they do 3, but he does all have Storm Shield, so they actually have a 3-up invuln as well. And he fails 1 wound, which, like I said, we had messed it up because I had asked if they were toughness 4, and they were. And then we instant killed them, but it turns out that they're actually toughness 5, so he shouldn't have been instant killed. And it should have been the other guy who takes the wound there, but that's what happened. So here we are at the end of the turn, moving into Tyranids turn 2, and 1 unit of my warriors does come in. It deviates a little bit, but it will just fix itself, and they all jump out of it at that point. And of course my Trigon did not regenerate. The Hive Tyrant switches onto a hover mode, so it goes down within, or rather goes down to being jump infantry. The Trigon moves over the difficult terrain, heading towards the monolith, and I decide to cast the Malediction that makes him re-roll 6s to hit into wound, and he does not deny it, so he's gonna have to re-roll 6s, because I figured, seeing as he's only strength 4, well, at the time I had thought he was strength 4, he would need 6s to wound, and then it was somehow just like the charge, but it turns out that no, he actually just is always strength 5. And my Hive Tyrant fails its charge, as does my Trigon, so it's up to those Carnifexes for 1 more round. He's got to re-roll a 6 to hit, which he hits anyway, and then wounding on 5s, re-rolling. See, now we have to re-roll the 6, but we also have to re-roll the misses. So we re-roll the misses first because he has lightning claws, and then we re-roll the 1/6, only that one because you can't re-roll a re-roll. And he gets another wound and kills it. And another wound, so it puts him down to 3. So here we go, the regular Space Wolf gets to attack. And he gets 3 hits, and then wounding on 5s, and he gets no wounds. So here we go, Thunderhammer piles in against the Carnifex. There we go. Now they're at the same time. I do the Carnifex first this time. He gets 1 hit and no wounds. And then the Thunderwolf, the Hammer gets to attack, hitting on 4s, re-rolling the 6. And he hits anyway. I might be hitting on 3s actually now that I think about it. And he re-rolls the 6 to wound. But either way, he does 2 wounds, which puts the Carnifex down to 1 wound. But he is fearless, so he just sits there and ties them up in combat. So hopefully the warriors can jump in and save me. the Necron Space Wolf turn 2 begins, and all of his Necrons do come in. So both of the flyers show up right there going after my Trigon. And all the warriors jump out of the first one. The monolith moves back. The Space Wolves over here, they move over to grab the objective, because eventually that is the goal. So always play to the objectives. And the other Space Wolves move up to grab the objective right here, which, once again, whoever's holding the objectives wins. So you might as well get up there and hold them as long as you can, because they don't really have anything to do over there. And he doesn't want to jump into the close combats that are going on, because my whole army is built, well, not really. A lot of my army is built to shoot, but it happens. So he's shooting at my Trigon. He does 2 wounds to it, putting it down to 3. This is with the flyer, of course. Now the other flyer shoots, and he gets 2 additional hits thanks to Tesla, and then wounding on 3s. He does 4 more wounds, which I fail another 2 wounds, which puts the Trigon down to 1 wound. The Necron warriors fire, and they do not get any wounds, but his other unit of Necron warriors also fires, hitting on 3s, wounding on 6s. They get 1 wound, and because it was 1 dice, I rolled a fail. So that is the end of the Trigon. Now these guys decide that they're going to run in the shooting phase, just trying to get a little bit closer to the objective, and they hang out holding the objective. Moving on to here, I do an Overwatch against his Wolfborn here, and I get a couple wounds, and he's got a 3-up hit save, but he only fails 1, and so only 1 wound on the wolves. From there, he then charges in to my Carnifex, my Hive Tyrant, which easily makes his charge and does not make a dangerous, or does not fail his dangerous. He had to make one, but he failed it. But he failed his fear check. And so the Hive Tyrant gets to go first because he's higher initiative, and he has preferred enemies, so he rerolls 1s. And he did a smash attack, so he could kill them instantly. That's why he only rolled 1 dice. But they have a 3-up invuln, and he makes it, so I don't instant kill one of them. So here we go. They're hitting on 5s and wounding on 5s. And now here goes the hammer, hitting on 5s, 2 hits, wounding on 2s. 2 wounds, puts the Hive Tyrant down to 1. Here we go, the other end. Wolfborn goes up against the Carnifex, hitting on... We had to roll a sphere check, but he hits on easy hits and rerolling to wound. It's basically the Carnifex dies here. Blam. So there we go. That is the end of the Carnifexes. They were finally killed by 4 cavalry. Well, 3 Thunderwolves and Canis Wolfborn, which totally, that makes sense. I didn't realize, like I said, I didn't realize the stat line. But anyway, moving into the next Tyranid turn, deep striking the Tyranid warriors down, and they all pop out, getting ready to jump on those wolves, because I got tons of warriors left. I'm not worried at this point. I give my Hive Tyrant a 5-up invuln, and then the pod lashes out against these Space Wolves, which actually does a wound, which kills the Thunderhammer, which is very nice to see. So good old Spore Pod's actually doing something. The other Spore Pod over here takes a bunch of shots and does a few wounds to these Space Marines, but doesn't kill them either. So here we go. I'm trying to assault here, and I ended up being able to do a multi-assault, but I did lose all my additional attacks for charging, which is kind of terrible. But he does pass his fear check. The Hive Tyrant attacks just using normal attacks, because I realized might as well. So he's got to make 3 3-up saves, because he has a 3-up invuln. And he fails 1, so the wounded guy dies, and that is the end of one of those cav. Splat. And now he gets to attack with his units, because basically it's at the same time, but he'll do his attacks first. So 2 fail, re-rolling to wound though, and kills one of my warriors outright, and wounds the other one. That was Canis Wolfborn attacking, of course. The Tyranids get to pile in, and we all attack at the same time, hitting on 3s and wounding on 4s thanks to having Furious Charge. He actually fails 2, but he takes off the other guy instead of taking Canis. And here we go. So here we go. The guy who had died just over there, he does get his attacks as well, so we roll them afterwards, and he gets 2 hits, wounding on 4s. He does another wound, or 2 wounds, but I make my 4-up saves. Here we go, the other Space Wolf misses, and then all the warriors get to attack back, and bam, wounding on 4s. They get tons of wounds. He's got to make like a whole pile of 3-ups again, but he only fails 2 out of 7, it looks like, and so 1 dies, which is average. That's what should happen. Thunderhammer then gets to attack. Of course, he has 4 attacks against my Hive Tyrant, which does 2 wounds, 5+, and I fail 1, which kills my Hive Tyrant and effectively ends it, because I can't kill his monolith now, but my warriors will still certainly try and kill as much as they can, because if we can hang on to the objectives, then despite the fact that I may not be able to kill everything, I can still do something. I can still win if I hold the objectives. So Necron turn begins, the flyers, one of them leaves the board, the other one I believe follows with it, or it just sits there. I guess we forgot to move that. Maybe it moves afterwards. So we'll wait and see what happens there. And the warriors all move up. They grab yet another objective. So right now the Space Wolves are holding 3 of the objectives and also have killed a large portion of my forces. So here we go. There's it moving. I knew it didn't move. Monolith moves up. Space Wolves, they get in a position so that they can at least kind of rapid fire shoot at my warriors, who are all kitted out with a set of Scything Talons and a set of Rending Claws. Because I figured Rending Claws against Space Marines would be really good, but I didn't realize that the Thunderwolf Cav would also have a 3-up invuln, which makes the Rending Claws kind of redundant. And he's firing away with his lasers into my critters there. One of them takes a wound, and now here goes a few pot shots from his warriors, which unfortunately do not do any wounds. He fires his large blast, which unfortunately misses by quite a bit, then fires the remainder of his warriors over there and misses. He then shoots his other unit of Space Wolves, and gets a few wounds, but I do only fail one, so one Tyranid warrior is down to 2 wounds, because they do have 3 wounds each, which is why I love warriors. If only they didn't get instant killed so easily. But that's what happens. Here we go, going into close combat. The Canis Wolfborn, he needs 4s to hit, 3s to wound. He does 2 wounds with his Power Claws and kills one of them, or Lightning Claws. They're not Power Claws. Hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s, because he's weapon skill 4, it looks like, and then wounding on 5. 6 are rending, but that doesn't matter. So he's down to 2 wounds left because he had 3 wounds base. And we count down just so everyone can see how many he has left instead of how many he has taken. That way, even if you don't know how many wounds he started with, you at least know how close he is to getting killed. So here we go, wounding on 5s. They get a bunch more wounds, but he passes all of his saves. Here he goes, is attacking back. Looks like this is his Thunderhammer that's still alive, and does 2 wounds, which kills 2 of my warriors outright. So I lose 6 models right there, but they're fearless, so my warriors just hang out and pile in. Here we go, moving on to the Tyranid's turn. I don't have any shooting to do, really, while I have movement. I guess the pod can attack. So the pod shoots, 3 hits, and 2 wounds. Here we go. Can he make 2 3-ups? He actually failed 1 and 2. But now my warriors charge in. He gets to do his Overwatch, and he gets a few hits, 3 hits, and then wounding on 4s, because they have bolt guns and pistols and all kinds of... They have a myriad of weapons. Reroll the 1. So 2 wounds, but I pass them. And then they charge in 6 inches and easily get into combat. So all the warriors are going to jump right in there, and they have higher initiative and more attacks and rending and re-rolling 1s and furious charge, and like the list goes on, because I decided I really wanted to try out a very big, deep striking warrior unit, just because I had never seen anyone do it. Going pretty well, I think. Made all my saves. Warriors attack back, hitting on 3s, re-rolling the 1s. Look at all those 1s. I don't think I rolled a single 2 right there. There's the 2. And re-roll that 6 because it wasn't flat, and I still hit him anyway. So this was the first half trying to wound, and I do tons of wounds with 1 rending, so he's got to make 7 armor saves, which he fails 3, and now the other half got try and attack. Re-rolling 1s, of course. A couple 2s this time. And then wounding on 3s, 6s being rending, which is enough to finish off that unit, and they run, or they get to consolidate 5 inches, so they head right towards those other 3 Space Marines, as well as try and hold the objective. But we do also spread out because the Necron Monolith's large blast will instant kill my warriors here. I rearrange my guys here, trying to get in what I hope to be a good way to not get blown up by them. Here you go, Wolfborn gets to attack. He hits 4 times, wounding on 3s, re-rolling thanks to Lightning Claws. And he gets 3 wounds, which kills another warrior. The warrior attacks back, gets 2 hits, re-rolling, fails, and then wounding on 5s, he fails as well. Here we go, those guys against the Thunderhammer, hitting on 3s, because he's not that good at fighting, but he's really good at smashing. And wounding on 5s. They get 3 wounds. Here we go, we can finally kill him. But he only fails 1 save, and now he gets to attack back with his 4 Thunderhammer attacks. 2 hits, and 2s to wound. Splat, splat. That's another 2 warriors dead, but of course we're fearless, and so we just stay in combat. Necron Space Wolf turn begins, and the flyers come back. The other flyer continues on its merry way, heading towards my warriors, seeing as they can't shoot anything else, because pretty much everything else is in combat. All 2 of those warriors. Oh, and there's a Spore Pod. Can't forget about the Spore Pod. So the warriors move up. headed towards the objective in the center here. He then fires off the large blast, which deviates quite a bit, and... or rather, does not deviate. Sorry, that looked like a deviate, but I get a 5-up cover save thanks to the forest being in the way, which I promptly fail, and so 2 of my warriors are splattered. Here we go, the Night Scythes are firing, and he just fires them all together, getting tons of hits and a few 6s to get more hits on there. Boom. And wounding on 2s. Oh, wounding on 3s. There we go. But they have a 4-up save, which I promptly fail 7 of them. So 2 die, and the other one takes a wound. So he's down to 1 wound, and 2 of them die. Blah. Here we go. He then fires away with his bolt guns over here, getting 2 hits and wounding on 4s. 1 more wound, 4+ save, which I pass. Close combat begins. Canis Wolfborn gets to go first, and he hits pretty much all across the board, wounding on 3s, re-rolling to wound, which is enough to kill me. So he went from not killing that guy to killing him, but that's what Lightning Claws do. And so I love Lightning Claws. They are my favorite melee weapon. 1 wound, 1 3-up. Does it finally kill this guy? Yes, it does. Sweet. So we actually killed the Thunderwolves. It took 3 Carnifexes, a Hive Tyrant, and 9 warriors, but we did it. We killed 2 units of Thunderwolf cavalry. They're nasty. I would really recommend these guys. Maybe it's just because of how it turned out, but from what it looks like, I would certainly recommend picking up some Thunderwolf. Here we go. The tentacles on the pod are attacking the flyer, and it needs a 5 to glance, which fails. But here we go. The Tyranids charging in against these 2. They get 1 shot from their Overwatch, and it does a wound, but I have a 4-up save, which I promptly pass. So the warriors charge in. They make it. And so there we go. We've got 4 warriors against 3 space marines. Warriors go first, re-rolling 1s, and then wounding on 3s. 6s are rending, and they get 2 rending, and a bunch of random saves. 5 saves. And he dies. So, but he does get to attack back, and so the space marine, or no, he doesn't get to attack back. No, there we go. Yeah, I was going to say it for a second there. I might have messed that up. But no, he does get his attacks back, gets 4 hits and 1 wound, 4+ save. He fails, so closest guy in combat, boom, another wound on him. But then they consolidate 5 inches, and at this point, I'm pretty much dead. But we have 1 more combat to resolve, so we jump over, Canis attacking that 1 lone warrior, gets 4 hits, and then wounding on 3s, re-rolling. Here we go, if he rolls another Snake Eyes, the warrior lives. He does, and so the warrior gets to attack back. He's got 3 attacks, and he hits on 4s, and he misses. And here we are, basically. I'm going to concede at this point because I have 1 warrior who's going to die, and 4 warriors who are going to get shot up, and I haven't even touched the Necrons yet. So that is the end of the game for me. Necrons have easily won with their Space Wolf allies, who really, the Space Wolves won the game, but Necrons were there to watch, and to cheerlead and kill over there. So this is it, end of mine. Good game.
Good game.
And another handshake, and there we are. So that is the end of this 2,000-point game. To see me try and redeem myself, click the link below to join the MiniWarGaming Vault. You can get a 7-day free trial that'll get you access to many more bat reps and even more hobby tips. Happy wargaming.